Kia ora. Welcome to today's short live video chat. We will be talking about parenting during the winter season and the sickness season. I'm Gracie, I'm a registered nurse on Plunket Line, and today I have Mari Louise, one of my lovely clinical leaders, on the chat with us. Do you want to introduce yourself, Mari Louise?
Kia ora koutou. I'm Mari Louise, one of the clinical leaders for Plunket Line. I'm based in Auckland. It's lovely to spend time with you talking about this subject, Gracie, and also with everyone out there watching.
Yeah. So today we're going to be talking about how you can take care of yourself. As parents and caregivers, winter can demand a lot more, not just trying to keep the house up and running when there's sickness in the winter and it's cold and there's darker nights and keep just trying to keep afloat. Sometimes it's really hard during these winter months. So today we're going to have a bit of a chat about making the most of being at home and battling cabin fever, the importance of getting out and about, even when you might not really feel like going out and socializing, and some of the small things that you can do to make yourself happy in the sense of self-care and other techniques on what to do and when possibly you need to reach out to support. So to get us started, Mari Louise, are you able to talk a little bit about keeping busy at home when we've got kids running around and how do we keep busy?
I mean, I'm sure most of us have got a few wee tips that we use for when, we're having to be stuck inside. But one of the key things, I think, with keeping our tamariki engaged, it's about getting creative, So if you feel like you're starting to exhaust your options, there's loads of ideas online about ways to use things around the home to create activities for tamariki. And I mean, I can think of a few, there might have been an ad recently on TV that where they stole all the sheets and made forts. That's a great one. You put your chairs together, blankets, forts over the top, have a tent, picnics inside. Why go outside and have a picnic? Let's have a picnic lunch inside. Put it all down on the floor. So just sort of thinking a little bit outside the box, but also changing up the routine a little bit. So instead of doing what you've always done, just suddenly say, actually, let's do something a bit different. And so that can be really helpful if, it's a boring, rainy sort of a day, and you're needing to do that. What we do need to keep in mind, though, is obviously if our wee ones are unwell, they're not going to have the same energy levels as when they were healthy. And, and again, as mamas, and perhaps if you've got other children who are well, it does make it a little bit difficult to sort of balance the needs of rest for your unwell wee ones and your older ones. So one of the things we're tempted to do is to hit the screens and again, we're needing to sort of, be a bit wary about the screen time that we're using. So the recommendations on screen time for, little ones over 2 is only an hour a day and none for our children under 2 that's dedicated looking at a screen. However, there is research that says that if you're sitting with your tamariki watching something, and you're having a conversation about that, then that can actually be beneficial. So that might be something that you could consider on a wet, rainy afternoon with an unwell baby and perhaps a couple of other ones that you're sitting down watching an age-appropriate movie that you're all watching together and you can all converse together and have fun with that. So that could be a really good thing to do when you've got an unwell person. Again, just be aware of it, of limiting it. We're going to pop a link into the chat too if you want more information about screen time and some of the research that's on that. Other things to do with your wee ones when they're unwell: read stories, recite, poems, sing along, have them listening to a bit of music, because even though you might want to get up and boogie, music is known as being sort of really good and therapeutic. So, just maybe having some music on and working in with where their energy levels are at.
Definitely.
Yeah. if you can, or not so much when your little ones are unwell, but if it's raining and everything like that, is have visitors, because sometimes that can break up the day. Um, so again, it just makes it easier if they've got little kids about the same age. Then you can wind up having a coffee and a natter, and the kids can be playing together, and that can sort of make things feel like it goes a wee bit faster. Obviously, what you do want to do is make sure that everyone's healthy. So, if your visitors are unwell, that's not such a good idea. So, because you don't want to invite more bugs into the house. And it's always wise to ask anyone that's coming in not to kiss the baby, particularly in the winter months, to minimize the chances of our PP catching anything. Just have a natural hand sanitizer, by the door or with baby, and just say, hey, if anyone's picking baby up, I'd just like them to wash to sanitize their hands.
Mm.
But sometimes the best thing to do, when when it's cold and wet, is not stay in. It's actually go out. So, Grace, are you able to talk about getting out and about and socializing with whānau?
Yeah, definitely. And this can be really, really hard to do in the winter months when it's dark and gloomy. But do you know what? It's actually really important. And what you can do to start with is having a look on your area community Plunkett Facebook page and check out what groups or parent groups, play groups might be around locally in your area. And if you're unsure, maybe pop into the library in your
Mm,
closest or local area, see what events are happening there, and just keep an eye out. Social media's got a way of helping us connect, and so if we use it in the appropriate way, we can actually use it to find out what's going on in our local areas, because every place in New Zealand has different things going on.
mm,
um, Sometimes we can feel flat or a bit dull in these gloomier wet days, and we do just want to snuggle up at home. But sometimes the best thing to do is actually get dressed up, putting an appropriate clothing on, and going out and getting out into it, and actually bracing and making the most of the day. So that sometimes, and if you do have whānau that are unwell, just remember you can still get out, but just take precautions on visiting and being in close
mm.
contact with others. And getting everyone out isn't is all about, it's, you don't have to go out and pay for an activity to be done. It could just be a simple thing like a walk, like even a short walk just around the block, or even to the letterbox, or going to a nearby park, and just doing anything that's a change of scenery and being in your four walls. So fresh
Mm.
air can do absolute wonders, not only for you but for your tamariki and pepe too, as long as they're dressed in appropriate warm clothing, and yeah, they've got they're correctly dressed for the weather.
So just
Yeah.
gumboots and a raincoat, really, in some
Yeah.
ways. And if everyone gets the gumboots and raincoat on, and the
Yeah.
best thing is get out there and jump in some puddles, and actually getting
Yeah.
looking for the inner child in yourself by jumping in a few puddles or spinning around in the wind, can do wonders for you, as well as give you something to share and have a laugh with your little one. Hey.
Totally, totally. And Mary Louise, often I get phone calls on Plunkett Line asking about, should parents be masking up if they feel unwell when they're around their children? What would
Mm.
you say about that?
I think you need to really consider, exactly what it is that you've got. So if you're the only one that's unwell, no one else has got it, and you've perhaps got quite a significant, you know, cold or flu symptoms, or tested positive for COVID or something like that, then there could be some benefit to it. But remembering that any masking also has to go alongside things like careful hand washing, hand hygiene, what you're doing with coughing, not sharing of other things like towels and bowls and plates and things like that. So, you know, you need to really balance it. If it's only a mild cough, then or respiratory illness, then it may be that you just do things like cough into your elbow, wash your hands before you touch baby or your little people, and just being much more mindful of it when you have that and you're going out. or you're going into an environment where you think there's a lot of people and there's been a lot of unwellness, then actually masking up in that environment is probably makes more sense rather than consistently masking at home. One of the things to think about with that is that, especially for our young babies, our face is how our babies communicate with us. So they register what's on our face, and when so much of it can be covered with a mask, it can be really confusing for our little people. So thinking about the reasoning why you might want to mask up and the severity of whatever illness it is that you have would be what I would say there, Gracie.
Yeah, no, definitely. And
Mm,
I think you've covered everything there, Mary Louise. And I think the
yeah.
thing is as well, guys, is if you ever have any questions about this sort of thing or even any health concerns, you can always call us at Plunket Line. We're happy to chat about anything. So,
Yes.
call us anytime, 0800 933 922, and we're available 24/7 for any question. No question's a silly one, so call us anytime. Now,
Cool.
lastly, and most importantly, as adults, and if we've got children and we're busy and we're trying to work and we're trying to juggle the housework and all those sort of fun things, what can we do to take care of ourselves, and sort of what's sort of common sometimes around this kind of time of year, Mary Louise, with our moods? What can happen?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things that can be really noticeable, and it certainly had a bit more of a, I guess, a prevalence, if you like, or it's talked about more, is what they call seasonal affective disorder. So SAD, which basically is where essentially some people, it's not all people, it's not all the time, where some people are, their mood is affected by the fact they're not getting as much light in the darker days, and it's linked to light. Essentially it has an impact on our hormones, serotonin, melatonin, which is linked to our sleep wake cycle and mood. It can be normal when you've got unrelenting, wet, soggy, cold grey days to just feel blah anyway. This is a bit worse than that. This is just where your moods and your habits can change quite a bit. It can be similar to depression, but sometimes you're not going to pick up on that. It may be that other people close to you pick up on the fact that this occurs in you, that they're seeing it a bit more in winter. So
Mm,
that's there, but like I said, it's talked about. It doesn't mean everyone is going to get it. One of the main things I would say when we're in winter is just the importance of that additional self-care, that getting out when there is some light and some sun, and having those big breaths. It's almost like, let me shake that one off, let's go out, let's have a look at the sun, let's get into nature, um,
mm,
recognize what we're seeing around us, listen for the birds, even in the backyard, take some of those big breaths. What does the air smell like and feel like and taste like after it's been raining when you get out there? Just sort of some really noticing, and that can actually have an incredibly positive impact on our mood. um and those deep breathings, like you
mm,
get out into nature and then you do those big breaths, it can be really grounding, really centering, especially, if all you're doing is that's giving you that moment away from your little people to just maybe go out on your deck or on your back step and notice nature and do some 5 big breaths, or
mm,
some box breathing. If you've heard about box breathing, which is breathe in for 4 and then hold and out for 4 and hold, and you go around, and you can Google that one and have a look on that. um, One of the other things when you're can be feeling down, and again, this is something you can do with your little people, singing and having a bit of a boogie, having a
mm,
dance, turning the music up a little bit and sort of getting your little ones and having a dance. It's really, really hard to stay flat when you've got some rhythm and some beat, and you can just really get going with that. And like I said, that's a great one to do with your little people too, and singing with them as well. It's
mm.
actually really hard to stay angry when you're singing. So, you know, Sing to your little ones, sing without your little ones, get up there and boogie with all of them is cool. One other thing that I'm going to suggest, and I'll put my hand up and say I use this. It's what they call a self hug or a butterfly hug, which is basically where you take your arms and you just put them across here. You put a little bit of pressure on your shoulders, and you just gently give yourself that reassurance, and that can be done anywhere, anytime. Okay,
Mm,
so you know be aware of taking a moment, for yourself, to actually say, what is it that I need a little bit to fill my cup? And it can be, as I said, something as simple as getting into nature.
mm.
Okay. Any
Yeah.
last tips, Gracie? Anything else that you're thinking of?
I think sometimes, it's nice if you enjoy having a nice hot shower on your own and just having the water run on you, or a bath. If you've got a bath, it's always a good thing. And
Mm,
just making sure that you actually, even if it's just 5 minutes, scheduling some time just to do that if you
yes.
can. And I think, another thing is just even just giving a ring to a friend or a family member or someone else that you feel good to talk to. Just having a chat to someone else, sometimes having an adult conversation can be really, really helpful too. And you
Mm,
can, yeah, again, if you just need to chat or you need to talk about anything, you can always give us a call at Plunkett Line. We're here to chat. So, yeah, so no, but Mary Louise, thank you for sharing your expertise, and thank you all for coming along and watching today. We've got another
mm.
live chat happening tomorrow at 12:30. And yeah, and if you have any concerns about your mental health, always reach out to someone. And whether it's the GP or give us a call at Plunkett Line. And yeah, anything else, Mary Louise, or we covered?
No, I just think that, sometimes it's a case of getting through with winter, but there
Mm,
can always be a positive opportunity. So think outside the box, break your routines a little bit,
mm,
for with your little people, but also with yourself, and be kind to yourself.
mm,
We don't have to be perfect, we just have to be good enough. Be kind to yourself as a parent and as a person.
definitely. Ka kite, everyone.
Ka kite, everybody.